Well, hello there, my friend. Good morning, one and all. Thank you very much for being with me today. Oh, I know Robin probably isn't here, but man, I forgot to turn on my light. She's going to be upset about it. We don't want Robin to be upset about things, so let's turn on that light. Hopefully, it'll. There we go. All right, good deal. Hey, today is day 3 um, of the trial of Jeffrey Spence in the murder of Mississippi businessman Kirby Carpenter. Mr. Spence was originally one of 3 people who were arrested on capital murder charges in the case of the murder of Kirby Carpenter. It was Jeff, his wife Karen, and their daughter Caitlin. Caitlin was the girlfriend and the mother of Kirby's child, who allegedly, reportedly, whatever it discovered Kirby's body covered with what they call like a curtain or a tarp of some sort with a toolbox on top of his body there, in Tippah County, Mississippi. So yesterday, Caitlin Spence actually testified on behalf of the prosecution. I wasn't here for that, but I did do my homework last night, guys. I did watch her testimony in its entirety. Very interesting testimony. But we will get into some commentary on that later because right now I'm still working on my day job, and I've got a deadline in about 15 minutes. So I've got to go to that. I'm just going to do this little thing where I'm going to put Kirby's face up like this. And then we will be here. The live stream will be going. I will be listening. And then as soon as I'm done with my deadline, I'll be coming back and checking in with y'all. Thank you very much for being here. I see Mooney's here. I see Michelle's here. Jen's here. Heather's here. Real Happy is here. Susan is here. True Crime Queen 66, you are here. Garth B. Nut, good to see you. Garth, you are here. Sharon is here. Did I already say Autumn? Of course. Autumn. Like, it's so great to see everybody. Donna is here. Thank you so much for joining us. I think that they've been pretty prompt, so I think things will get going here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for working with me while I am working on my day job, which I love. So, yeah, enjoy the trial, and I will check back in with you in just a bit. Looks like we had a sound issue, but I've got that fixed, guys. There we go. Yes, to answer your question, I am with you here this morning. I'm also working my day job, so I'm going to be listening in and watching along with you while
we were
I'm
ready.
reporting. Bring them
Okay,
Judy
y'all
in
get
anyway.
ready. All right, Hood State College is next to witness.
Jonathan State was called Carolyn Aguayo.
Carolyn Aguayo.
Carolyn Aguayo.
Come around, face the court reporter, be sworn in, please.
While I check my phone. No, he's
See
not
if
doing
that
that. He's a good
mic's
judge.
Yes,
He's
sir.
turning it
Do
off.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
I love that judge. And if you can speak as close into that
Someone needs to
microphone as
tighten that
possible.
screw.
All right. I'm hoping that buzz will leave. I think it is this. Whoop. All right. Can you tell the jury who you are?
I'm Carolyn Aguayo, Jeff Spence's daughter.
Okay.
Oh,
Where do
didn't make that connection.
I'm not going to ask you where you live, and there's a reason for that. Can you tell the jury why you don't want to tell the world where you live?
I've I've come here to help stop what has been going on for decades, but I have requested that where I live, how many children I have, any of that is not mentioned. I have moved several times. Sorry, I've got a little allergy stuff going on. I've moved several times. Once you leave a criminal family, you watch your back all the
Good
time.
for her.
You move if you need to move. You protect in whatever way you need to protect. No social media, things like that. You are guarded. Once you realize that you've done something wrong to the family, you've betrayed the family, you have not been loyal the way you've been raised,
I want to enter an objection to whatever it is that Ms. Witness.
I'm sure you do, she just said.
There's nothing that has been ever substantiated about what she said. Nothing.
I'm sure you do.
I would ask that you reply to
It's narrative.
Don't give a narrative. Reply to questions and answers so that we can have time to get to okay?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Was it always that way?
No, not at all.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brookville, Pennsylvania, a little farm outside of Brookville, Pennsylvania.
Brookville, by the way, is picturesque.
And
It
who
is
is your
beautiful.
father?
Jeff Spence,
Who is your mother?
Karen Spence.
And do you have any siblings?
I have one older sister, Caitlin Spence.
Okay. Now, I believe y'all are fairly close in age. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we're a year apart. She's 1 year older than me.
If I'm remembering correctly, Caitlin was born in 86? Or was that,
Yes, Caitlin was born in 86,
and you were born?
the next year.
Okay. Now, normal
I think she's
normal
amazing.
childhood, soccer, school. Where'd you go to college?
I mean, normal childhood might be a little off, but I mean, as far as I've been in, dealing with this sort of thing even since I was growing up, you know, as far as, you know, game commissions that had to come to our house.
That's the deer.
Sorry. I didn't hear that. Please.
I wouldn't exactly describe my childhood as a normal childhood. Having game commissioners come to the house, having my dad cited for bad business practices.
I'm going to sustain you.
Yes, please. Everything that's coming out of this young woman's mouth is just, it's trash, Judge.
Oh, he said that in front of the jury?
It's all just trash.
I'm sustaining you, yes.
Where did you go to college?
Grove City College in Pennsylvania.
And did you finish college?
I did. I double majored in early childhood and elementary education.
All right. After you got your degree, did you get a job in that field?
I did. I've taught for several years.
Where was that?
So after I graduated college, I went to New Zealand for a short period of time just to see how they did early childhood there. My professors always raved about the early childhood programs there, so I did a little time in New Zealand, but then when I came back, I moved right away to North Carolina. I didn't want to be any part of.
We object to relevance of what goes on in New Zealand and have anything to do with this case.
It's just background.
Sidebar, thank you.
All right. So you moved to North Carolina.
I moved to North Carolina. I didn't want to be in Pennsylvania. I didn't want to be near any of it.
Understood. Where in North Carolina did you move?
I moved to, I first went down to Wilmington, North Carolina, and then I got a job a little further south, so it's a little area called Oak Island. So I taught in a school there near Oak Island.
All right. Are you married?
Yes,
When did you get married?
2014.
And who did you marry?
Giovanni Awayo.
Ah, somebody's got their phone on.
When did you marry Giovanni Aguayo?
June of 2014.
Did y'all live on Oak Island, North Carolina together?
Yes.
And what did he do? What at that time, what was he doing, employment-wise?
At that time, he was a Marine.
Marine? Now then, did Jeff and Karen, your mother and father, move in with y'all?
Yes, so we got married in June 2014. My parents had talked about wanting to move, you know, with us settling down, and they moved in with us in about August of 2014. They were gonna look for a place down there.
All right, so they move in with you. Did you have a conversation with Giovanni about that decision for them to move in with y'all?
Object to that conversation, Judge.
I'm not asking for the conversation, I'm just asking if they had a conversation.
I'll allow that.
Yes, Gio has a very big heart.
Don't tell me what he said. Did y'all have a conversation about your mother and father moving in with y'all, being newly married?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
They were going through bankruptcy, so we felt like we could help them out.
Right. Okay. So, your father was going through bankruptcy, having money problems, and y'all wanted to help him out, is that correct?
He had to file for bankruptcy. He had a case with Jim Riddle where he had embezzled $100,000 from his business partner.
We object.
We object.
Anything that's coming from this witness that's not
I'll sustain that objection and ask the jury to disregard anything that they heard about that anyway.
Okay. Don't add to the question.
Okay, sorry.
Just trying to-
Ask the question, answer the questions asked and stop there.
All right. So if I understand correctly, you've testified that you wanted your mother and father to move in because they were having financial trouble in August of 2014.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how long did they stay with y'all?
They ended up staying 2 years.
All right. And during that period of time, did yourself and your husband help them get on their feet financially?
Yes, they weren't paying rent. We had given them one of our cars and the insurance on the cars. We did groceries. We were trying to help them get back on their feet, trying to help them recover and kind of have a fresh start. And again, we were just trying to help them.
Was your mother ever employed during that period of time?
No.
Okay. Did your father ever have any meaningful employment during that period of time?
He did not have a job. He had started or tried to start a vegetable farm with a gentleman down there.
All right. So he tried to start a vegetable farm.
Yes.
And did he talk to anybody about investing in that?
He had an investor that invested $20,000 in starting it.
Okay. Do you know anything about whether that investor was able to realize any kind of return on that investment?
He hadn't
Hold on,
taken.
before you answer, I think there will be an objection.
Same objection we had before. Talking about something we have no substantiation of.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. Don't talk about the investor anymore, pursuant to the ruling of the court. All right. Now, at some point, did yourself and Gio decide to move to Virginia?
Yes, Gio got a job in Virginia.
All right. Was it with the Marines?
No, he'd gotten out of the Marines.
Okay. You can tell the jury what his new employment, new career was going to be.
Okay. He was going to be working for the federal government in a very similar capacity for what he had did with the Marines, but he was going to be on the civil side now. He served his years in the Marines, and now he had the opportunity to do security policing with the federal government.
All right. So, did you buy property and a home in Virginia?
When we first moved there, we rented, but then we did buy a cabin in Virginia.
Okay. Where in Virginia?
Orange, Virginia,
Okay.
Charlottesville area.
All right. And is that the property that y'all bought? Is that where you and Giovanni were planning to build a cabin kit for your mother and father?
So, as you can imagine, we lived with them for a while. Everybody was kind of ready for their own space. But we, again, we wanted to make sure they were on good footing. And we offered to, we had 10 acres with the cabin, so we offered to separate off a little land and do like a simple, like less than $100,000 cabin type kit, kind of a little mother-in-law suite type thing, with just having them have their own house though, but just down the lane. The idea was Grandma and Grandpa would be down the lane.
Who was going to pay for that kit?
Well, with them being in bankruptcy, we were gonna, the agreement was that we would get the loan, but they would have to make the mortgage payments.
Judge, and ask you to instruct the jury to stop, tell Ms. Aguayo to stop talking about bankruptcy. There's nothing in this case about bankruptcy. There's been no substantiation.
I'll hear from the state.
Your Honor, I think it's already been established that he was in bankruptcy as the reason that he moved in with
Yeah.
Jeff and Gio.
I think the defendant's financial situation is relevant in this case anyway. I'm gonna allow it.
There's been no substantiation of any bankruptcy ever of this man, except what's just now come out of this witness's mouth.
You can look on the federal PACER system.
That's right.
I think that this is a daughter. I think she has knowledge of it. I'm gonna allow the testimony.
Okay, so we were talking about the yourself and your husband putting the money up for the kit to build a mother-in-law, father-in-law house on your property. With that loan from the bank, certain requirements about construction, were there building codes that had to be followed, things of that nature?
Yes, so in the build, you have to do one step at a time. You have to do it correctly. Everything's got to be insured. All the contractors have to be okayed. Everything has to be a certain way for you to get the next amount of money from the loan to be released. So if you do the first step wrong, like you're already in trouble as far as being able to finish the house.
To be able to go to the next phase and prove that everything was done by code.
Correct.
All right. Did your father interfere with that?
Yes, so he wanted to kind of, make himself the general contractor, if you will, of the project. Well, you have a full-time job, Gio has a full-time job, I'll help out in this way. The problem that we ran into was paperwork. It was all word of mouth, well, so-and-so didn't call me back, or I got this bid, and we said, well, where's the bid? There was nothing on paper, and that wasn't gonna be working because we had to turn everything in to the bank again in order to move on with the next step. So there started to be arguments where we're like, hey, we've been clear, somebody has to write us up. If we're gonna get a well driller, we have to have a contract. We have to have his license number and know that he's insured, and we have to have all of that in order to turn that in to the bank, and then they okay it, that we can move forward with digging a well for the house. So that was the sort of thing that started where we started arguing over things, and we're getting upset at each other because Gio and I were trying to go by the book, and he was trying to well, this will work. This guy's been in the town for 30 years, and he's done
Hustling.
this before.
Always trying to hustle.
And let's just put a pause on that line of questioning for right now. Can you tell the jury, when y'all were home, did y'all watch TV together? With
Yeah,
your
we,
mother and father?
initially, again, we didn't know that, other things were going on. We thought we were doing the right thing. We thought we were helping. We would watch a lot of movies together.
What kind of TV programs did your father enjoy watching?
We watched things like Breaking Bad, Blacklist. We watched.
Soon to be. Soon to be relevant.
Okay. So we would watch a lot of movies, and that Jeff always likes to dialogue. So one of the things, initially that kind of perked me up to like, this is odd. We were watching a movie, and he said, oh, well, if I was ever going to have to kill someone, I'd use a shotgun. And that's because you wouldn't have to worry about the casing.
Oh,
Who said that?
My dad.
Okay.
what's the objection? Object. What's the objection? Dad would use a shotgun because he wouldn't have to worry about the case. The ballistics matching. Have you guys seen what buckshot looks like, by the way? Kirby was shot with buckshot. When we think shotguns, we typically think, at least I do, birdshot, which are teeny tiny little pellets, hundreds of them, maybe even 1,000 of them, that blow out in a big pattern, right? Buckshot are like little 22 caliber, maybe even bigger
Jeff Spence.
round balls.
My dad.
And there are like 10 of them. It does damage, man. By the way, while we're waiting on this, I know people that are connected to this family. I think that maybe we leave Carolyn alone. I doubt Caitlin will talk to us, but once she is sentenced, maybe she will be open to it. I wouldn't mind having that conversation. Obviously, I would love to have Miss Maddie Jane and Casey and their family members on, because really it's the victim's family that we care most about. But yeah, when she's talking about Jeff Spence, this being a criminal family, yes, there was the embezzlement. Yes, there was the theft of Goliath. There was those two things happened in Jefferson County, PA, that are on the docket. They're either he was found guilty or it was a guilty plea. In fact, while we're waiting, let me just go there real quick, and I'll bring up his criminal record. It's all in Jefferson, I think. No, it might be in Clarion, now that I think about it. Spence. Jeff. All right, let's look at Jefferson County. It's not in Clarion County. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Yeah, so in Clarion County, let's see if I can bring this up for you while we're waiting for the audio to come back in. This is... Why is it showing that? It shouldn't... Give me a second.
Now, when families sit down and watch TV shows together, do they normally take notes about what's going on?
No, I mean,
Did your father do that?
Okay, we'll come back to this.
normally people would just watch a show like that for entertainment, but Jeff learns from them.
I'm sorry.
Jeff learns from them.
How do you know that? Do you
Because
have?
he discusses everything. Like even with himself, he'll have long conversations. He'll practice things. That's something I even saw in my childhood. You know, he'd have an argument with a business partner, and he'd be pacing the floor that night. And
And relaying it to some program?
Again, with something like Breaking Bad, like most people would watch that and be terrified. Like, that's not normal life for most people. That's not something like, oh, hey, that was a good idea.
When he said that about using a shotgun, did he say anything about the projectile or the shell casing?
Yeah, the whole idea with a shotgun is it's harder to trace.
No, specifically, did he say anything about the shotgun shells? Do you recall?
Yes, a shotgun shell is huge. I'm sure most of you know that. You're not going to be looking around for little bullet casings, and that's if you have to shoot more than once. And that was his comment as well, if you only have to shoot someone once, the casing doesn't even come out. Now, if you end up having to shoot again, then, at least you're looking for something that big.
Okay.
Wow.
Now then, in general, the condition of the property that you had on the curtilage or the yard, around the driveway, that area, I'm not talking about the house or the cabin, talking about the land, how much land did you have?
It was 10 acres, almost entirely wooded.
Okay.
We were back in the woods, and
Here's birdshot is on the right, buckshot is on the left.
we had a gate that went went into our backyard and back into the woods behind our house.
Okay. Now, did tensions arise between yourself and your father about how he used that yard, that property?
Yeah, so as we were building, as I mentioned, some arguments started about doing things the right way. Jeff has always tried to make money off of little things, like, oh, come pick up this tractor, I'm just trying to get rid of it. And then, so he'd bring that to the land and then he'd try and sell that. So we started having people coming onto our land, like looking for Jeff, and all the while we're trying to build a house. We didn't want anyone in a construction zone where somebody could get hurt. Then all of a sudden we're getting sued because somebody got hurt that never should have been on the property in the first place. So these are the things that we started worrying about as a young couple, that, hey, we're not protected. I mean, I'm a teacher, he's a police officer. You know, we're not full of cash. If somebody gets hurt, like, you know, we're in trouble. So those arguments kept happening. And one particular discussion, I was pregnant at the time, so I had gone into the house to use the bathroom, and I came back out came to the window, and I saw that Gio and Jeff were having.
I love how she doesn't call him Dad.
You know, they were both talking loud, and I saw Jeff step to Gio, and I could see in his eyes, like, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And he stepped back, so he thought better of it. That.
Relevance, Judge, relevance. We're talking about an argument
Let's move on.
from 19 or 20.
Well, this is where my husband was
Hold on one
threatened.
second,
so.
let them finish.
Oh,
So-
good for her.
Hold on 1 second.
Let's, we've got much of a rambling, testimony, that needs to be more.
Specific,
It's
non-narrative.
hard to me to referee a wrestling match and don't know just try to get specific questions and specific answers.
All right.
I understand.
And if I understand your testimony correctly, you've got a loan for $100,000 or around $100,000 for this cabin kit, correct?
It turned into $178,000
Okay.
by the time Jeff was done.
And that was being put in jeopardy by Jeff not following the code, cutting corners and that kind of thing?
Right. The ball was already rolling. There was no way of stopping it at that point. We were in it.
Just, in the way we're going to do it, I'm going to ask you a question, yes or no, and then if I need you to explain, I'll ask.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
All right. So,
Obviously,
In
the
addition
court
to
has made
that,
rulings prior to the trial about
did your
inadmissibility
dad
of his criminal record.
He just acquired junk? Is that
Yes.
is that fair?
Yes.
Can you briefly tell the jury about that?
It's part of not wanting to work. It's a laziness. You're trying to make money off of nothing.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll sustain the objection.
All right.
Move on.
I'll move on.
okay.
Did that interest that your father have result in a bunch of junk in your yard?
Yes, we had to clean, we had to remove tons. I think it ended up being 3 tons of junk off of our property to clean it off after we got him out.
Okay. Now then, was there a conversation that you, your husband, and your father had where all of this came to a head?
Yes,
And where was that conversation? Where did it take place and when?
McDonald's, he didn't want my mom present.
Okay. What did you explain to your dad about the situation, and what was his response?
We tried another sit down where we said, look, we have to do this a certain way. We have to go by the book. Otherwise, all of this is going to get messed up. There's no reason to not have a contract on someone.
Okay, so all of these things came to his attention directly by you and Gio. What was his response?
He was angry. He said, well, I guess I can't do it your way. And we kept trying to reiterate, it's not our way, it's the bank's way. We're not trying to be stubborn. There's codes when you build. It's not codes we came up with. Everybody has to build. Even if you put a porch on your house, you have to do it by code.
And at this time, were they living in the house with you?
At this time, they had a basement apartment under a family on the lake, Lake Louisa.
And then, as a result of this confrontation at McDonald's, did you come to any realization with Gio about your father not being who you thought he was?
I saw an anger and a violence in his eyes I had never seen before. In the way he was speaking to Gio, and I saw how angry he was, and that was when he said, I'm done, I'm out. Basically, this mess is yours.
And after that, did y'all install video surveillance around your property?
Yes, we put up cameras. At that point, there was too much animosity. There was too much that was being done behind our backs that at that point we weren't feeling safe.
Did you put up video surveillance around your property?
Yes, cameras.
Okay. After that,
She wants to tell the whole story, and I love it.
was your video surveillance system ever altered or adjusted in any way by anybody other than yourself and your husband?
Yes, the camera cord to our security camera was cut.
How did you know how your camera system was cut and who cut it?
We were in the house. Jeff had been told to get all his stuff off the property because we were done. So he was going into our garage, which is back behind our house. He was going into the garage to get his stuff. He noticed the camera, went behind our shed, cut the camera, and of course we knew he cut the camera because we're in the house, and the camera feed to one of the cameras goes out.
So you saw it with your own eyes, your father cutting the camera feed?
He was behind a shed.
Yeah.
So he walks behind the shed, the camera feed goes out, Gio goes out to check it, it's been cut.
All right. Now,
That,
in and around this time, tell the jury what time frame this is.
this is August of 2018.
Okay. Now, in and around this time, did you have a conversation with your father about life insurance on your husband?
He had, in one of his arguments with Gio, he had told Gio, Karen and I want to pay for $1 million life insurance policy for you. And of course, Gio thought that was odd. He has a job, he has life insurance. So he shared that with me, and I told Gio, I was like, I don't understand what's the thought process before that. And he said, well, they mentioned the baby, you have our firstborn.
Wow.
Our son was gonna be born in November, and he said, but it was odd. It was during one of our conversations about the house. Like there was no, like my mom wasn't there, I wasn't there. Like if this was something that was really about the grandbaby, why was this coming up?
And this was during all the tensions.
It never came up until the fighting started.
Now, was there a conversation about a meal ticket? What was that about?
So a meal ticket.
You're messing up my meal ticket.
So with
And if you know,
yeah, I'm not recalling a meal ticket
Okay.
comment.
Was he upset that they weren't allowed to get $1 million policy on Gio's life?
He just seemed flustered, like, anytime we didn't agree with him, it was just, oh, well, you all are stupid. So of course he was upset about it. We weren't agreeing with him.
All right. Did you ever take any action because your father was trespassing on your property?
When he cut the camera cord, we called the sheriffs, because at that point I had tried to reason with him. Gio had tried to reason with him. Trust me, we wanted the family relationship to be good. I had tried until I was blue in the face. And at that point I was like, I don't know what else to do other than to get the police involved.
And did you ever find any personal property of you and your husband Gio missing after the security camera was cut?
Yes, so we had, again, as I mentioned with this house build, Gio and I are careful about paperwork. And we,
She
when
seems
we
so
moved into
thorough,
the
so
cabin, the
conscientious.
logs, if you're familiar with log cabins, they have to be stained. So we got bids for someone to treat the wood to preserve it for the cabin. And we got these bids, and again, this was a typical thing of my dad's to do. So he said, oh, hey, like, they're gonna charge, $30,000 for this, I'll do it for 10. So we're like, well, this is the big project, this is gonna be a lot of work, are you sure? So we just wrote up a little legal note on a legal pad.
Let me stop you there. Did he ever take, or are you aware of any time that your father had taken any property from you or your husband during that period of time?
That paper went missing.
Okay.
But also things like my husband's tools, like again, Gio in the Marines, police officer, very orderly.
Okay,
No-
that's good. No narrative.
Okay.
Mr. Lyle can't tie something to Jeff Spence. Just because something comes missing or they misplace it or whatever, doesn't mean that he has done anything.
The attorney is testifying right in front of the jury right now.
Let's move on to that, and yours will.
Finding it in-
Yes, your will disregard that last comment unless you can tie it to something.
After,
I'm sorry. Did you instruct the jury to?
I instruct the jury to disregard that last comment.
after the cutting of the surveillance system around your property and calling the sheriff, did you ever have to call the sheriff again?
A couple days later, he came back on the property, and again, this was on our security camera. He pulls a knife out of his pocket, cuts we put a zip tie on the latch and the gate, so just as extra security. So yes, that was cut, and so we called the police again, because at that point, the sheriff that came 2 days
Let me stop you
prior.
there. Who cut it?
Jeff
And
Spence.
entered your property
Yes,
after having been told not to come back on your property?
correct.
And how did you know that he cut the strip?
It's on camera.
You had it on camera? Now then, do you recall the last time that,
I'm just going to keep saying it. I love this woman. So
and I
brave.
may be wrong about
So
this, but
tough.
there was a time when they were leaving in the car and you were trying to talk to your mother?
Creekmore is testifying, Judge.
That's not testimony, that's background.
I'm gonna see where it goes, hang on.
Do you recall that situation?
He would call,
Yes or no? Do you recall that?
yes.
Okay. And I'm really referring to your mother. And I want you to tell the jury, was your
Look how
mother
red in the
aware-
face Jeff Spence is.
did she know what was going on?
Look at that.
And how did you know that?
Yes, my mom has always been aware of what's going on, and she has been a driver for him. She was a driver for him when they poisoned the water troughs of a deer farm.
Hold on.
Oh,
No narrative.
She is always aware.
Okay. Now,
Wow.
you talked about your dad buying and selling junk, for lack of a better word. At times, would he go outside or across state lines during that period of time?
Yes, all the time. Big drives were a thing for him, and my mom would keep a cell phone.
Objection, ma'am. I have an objection. Unless she can tie it to some basis of knowledge, you can't just be sitting up here accusing whatever's coming.
Rephrase your question as to lay a foundation as to her knowledge.
Do you know why? How did you know that your father would cross state lines?
One particular time he went to Georgia.
Do you know?
Yes, I know he would cross state lines.
All right.
Yes.
And would he take certain precautions when he did that?
Yeah,
He would.
Okay, let's lay a foundation of knowledge.
Of course you're objecting.
thank you, Judge.
Do you know whether he took any precautions when he did that?
He would.
Back up a step before that, that's the basic knowledge that he believed he would say.
He was around us all the time. He was living with us for 2 years.
Did he ever say where he had been
All the time.
and where he got property?
Yes, because if we went a day without seeing him, that was weird.
And did you ever ask him where he got certain property that made its
Yes,
way on
and
your
so
land?
he'd say, oh, I made a run to Georgia.
Okay.
Or I went to South Carolina yesterday.
Now, were you aware of any precautions that he took in order to go to Georgia to buy property to bring back and put in your yard?
He'd leave his cell phone with my mom.
Okay.
How would she know that? Objection.
He told me.
Objection.
Lay a foundation.
I love her so much.
How do you know that he would leave his cell phone with your mother?
Through his own mouth, he would tell me.
Now, back to that. Do you recall the incident with your mother leaving in the car that we were
Yes.
talking about earlier?
Yes.
All right. When was that?
It was shortly after all this was happening where he had called her to come pick him up.
Okay. Did she come pick him up?
No.
Mr.
Hill
she came,
is a
are
good
you
attorney.
referring to so she came to pick him up the first time he was arrested?
I'm talking about the last time you ever saw her.
Judge, I need to.
Yeah. Mr. Hill, the defense attorney, is actually quite a good attorney. He's well known and regarded in the area from what I'm told. Look how red Jeff Spence's face is right now. Look at that. He is fuming, and thank you very much to my, what should I say, my correspondent for pointing that out. Because, yeah, he's angry right now. Faux show. Crazy. Oh, while we're doing this, real quick, let's bring us back over to here. Okay, this is Mr. Spence's criminal record in Pennsylvania. Okay, 2006, theft by unlawful taking of movable property. He was found guilty. He was put on probation for 6 years. For that, criminal conspiracy, engaging in theft by unlawful taking and receiving stolen property, guilty, 7 years of probation.
I want to clear something up with you. We're talking about two different things.
Here's
Your mother
another
came
one.
to pick him up after you
Guilty
called.
plea.
the sheriff's department out there because he had trespassed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you remember that event?
He had,
Just yes or no?
yes,
Yes. And when you said, when you had him arrested, you're talking about that misdemeanor trespass on your property, correct?
yes.
Okay, so that's clear. Was there a time where you tried to talk to your mother about these things?
Yes.
And what was her response?
Objection, talking hearsay.
It's not.
I'm
That's not hearsay.
quote from her general attitude for.
Yes. What did she do when you were attempting to try to get her attention?
I walked out to her car because she wasn't getting out of her car, and I said, "Mom, we need to have a conversation about what's happening." And she would not get out of her car. She was talking to me through the window, and she was
Don't say anything that she said.
okay.
What did she do?
She got a call from Jeff, and then she peeled out.
Okay. Was that the last meaningful contact you've had with your mother?
She has continued to text, now not in the past couple of years, but she would continue to send texts because we were able to get a no contact on Jeff, but not on her. So I would get little things from her, like heard y'all were in Texas, heard y'all had a baby girl, little plugs to let us know that, hey.
After that last contact with your mother, when y'all were actually in the same place there in Virginia, did you and your family move somewhere else?
Yes, so with what happened with the house, once we were able to finish it, we put it up for sale. It wasn't selling. We ended up having to sell our own home because again, we couldn't make 2 mortgage payments.
Understood. Did y'all
So
move from that location?
we had to move.
What was the primary reason for you moving?
We moved initially because we had to sell our home, but then we were able to get jobs elsewhere so we could get away from it all.
Okay. Now, court's indulgence. The witness shall not.
Thank you, Jeff.
Is this cross now? Sounds like.
When you and your husband moved to Oak Island, North Carolina, Jeff and Karen lived elsewhere. That's a yes or no?
Yes,
They still lived on the farm in Pennsylvania.
in February of 2014, they got a beach rental in the town where we lived.
Now, you're not answering my question. When you and your husband moved to Oak Island, your mother and father still lived on the farm in Pennsylvania.
That's not correct.
Why is it not
Good for her.
correct?
Because they moved to Oak Island. They rented an apartment in February
I understand
2014.
they moved to Oak Island. I'm getting there. But when you moved to Oak Island, they didn't live there on Oak Island.
And I hadn't married my husband at that point either, sir. When I
She's
moved to
tough.
Oak Island and I bought a house in Oak Island, Gio wasn't even in the picture yet.
You were single. When you
That's
moved
correct.
to Oak Island, you were single.
That's correct.
And after you moved to Oak Island, well, let me back up. When you moved to Oak Island, your parents still lived in Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
And when they moved to Oak Island, you weren't married.
That's correct.
And when they moved to Oak Island, it's because you invited them to come.
I didn't stop them from coming.
Well-
I would definitely not phrase it as I invited them to pick up their 30-year life on a farm in Pennsylvania and
Well,
move to North Carolina.
you not only invited them, ma'am, they lived with you.
My husband wanted to help them, and I didn't want to be.
No, you weren't married. You just got through telling us when you moved to Oak Island, you were living alone, you were single.
When they moved in with us, we were married at that point.
Okay, so you moved, you asked your parents to move to Oak Island, and your husband agreed.
That's incorrect.
I'm sorry?
That's incorrect, sir.
I've
Your
fallen in love
husband-
with this woman.
Did not
I want to
okay them
adopt her.
moving in with him?
I want her to have.
They moved in with us in August of 2014. I married my husband in June of 2014. My parents rented a place on Oak Island in February of 2014.
All right, so they moved there and were paying their own rent.
For a couple months, yes, sir, to the beach apartment. When they moved in with us, they didn't pay rent.
My point
That
is.
was the point.
Okay, all right. So your parents moved to Oak Island and rented their own place.
For a couple months. It was a month-to-month beach rental. This was not a place they could rent long-term.
You
Oh my
have
gosh,
more knowledge about your parents' business than any person I think I have ever heard of. Do
Wouldn't you
realize-
if they lived
Let
with
me
you?
finish.
I grew up with them, so my early life was with them, and then as an adult, they lived with me for 2 years.
At your
and-
request.
At my husband's generous offer, sir.
At your request.
It wasn't my request.
Good for her.
It was your husband's generous offer.
Correct.
And you are telling us that you didn't agree?
I agreed.
Or are you just letting your husband run the household?
No, sir. If you knew me, you'd know that wasn't the case.
Actually, Gio has a reputation for being very difficult, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't, sir.
Very demanding.
He's had a lot of honorable positions over the years, and we wouldn't be here if he wasn't an honorable man.
Oh my goodness. I just want to
After
adopt her.
your husband's generous offer, Karen and Jeff Spence lived with you, you said, for 2 years.
Correct.
And then you and Gio got jobs in Virginia.
Correct.
And when you moved, Jeff and Karen were still in Oak Island.
Jeff moved to Virginia before Karen because he,
You didn't listen to my question. When
I'm
you
listening,
and-
sir.
When you and Gio moved to Virginia,
Oh,
Jeff
I
and
love
Karen
her.
still lived on Oak Island. Yes or no?
yes,
Okay. And they continued to live on Oak Island for a good while.
that's wrong.
Wrong in what way?
About a month after we moved to Virginia, Jeff showed up at the door, said, "Hey kids, I got a job here. Is it okay if I stay here?" So my mom continued to live on Oak Island.
For how
My
long?
dad very quickly moved back in with us in Virginia.
For how
For a few months before we could sell the house.
So your parents stayed, or your parents and then your mother stayed on Oak Island in the house that you were trying to sell?
My mom stayed in the house that we
Well,
eventually sold.
Until Jeff showed up at your front door in Orange, Virginia, he was in Oak Island as well, right?
For about a month.
That's what I said, okay? And they were helping you out by paying your mortgage payment in the house that you were trying to sell.
So they didn't,
You didn't listen to my question.
Oh, I thought you wanted an answer.
I do want you to answer, and basically, it's a yes or no answer, and then you can explain. When you and Gio moved to Virginia, your parents stayed in your house in Oak Island and made your mortgage payment, yes or no?
No.
So you were making a mortgage payment in Oak Island and you were making a rent payment in Virginia?
Correct. And as I stated, again, Jeff was not staying in Oak Island. He was there for a month. My mom continued to stay. The last couple months, I believe it was 2 or 3 months before we sold the house, we asked for help with the mortgage payment because, again, now we had 2 mortgages again. And she was staying at the beach house. She wanted to stay at the beach house until it was sold. We said, can you guys chip in a little bit for the mortgage payment? They did not pay the whole mortgage. And again, we're talking about 2 or 3 months before it sold.
They made payments on your mortgage.
That's the only time we had to ask for help for them. And we were, again, that was in the middle of a move, career transitions. Jeff is already living with us in Virginia, and my mom is there so she can walk the dog on the beach and live in peace.
And how long before Jeff and Karen got the rental apartment in the basement on the lake in the gated community?
They moved, they got that around, we had moved into our cabin. We got our cabin in the summer of 2016. And they initially lived for a little while with us in that cabin, and then they found the apartment on the lake. So again, with the math, they lived with us, whether they lived in the rental with us, and they lived with us in the Oak Island house, and they lived with us in the Orange, Virginia cabin. It was 2 years before they moved to the lake.
And that's not the cabin that you were building, that was the cabin that was already built.
That was the cabin we bought for our family. Gio and I bought for our family. And again, we welcomed them into that home until we then said, hey, let's get you your own space.
So the cabin that was being built in stages was for Jeff and Karen.
Correct.
It wasn't for you and Gio,
It wasn't.
okay? And you're being separated from your mother and father for what, 8 years, 7 or 8 years, right?
About 7 years.
Originated with disputes over this cabin that Jeff and Karen were going to be living in,
Correct.
and Jeff and Karen were going to be paying for.
Yes, they were going to be making the mortgage payments. We had made that agreement.
That's not rocket science. It's a yes or no. They were going to be
Yes,
making,
then, sir.
They were going to be making mortgage payments.
Yes.
So it was a piece of property that was being developed in their interest. Yes?
In my parents' interest, yes, I'd say so.
Yes. And the falling out that you have had originated with that piece of property, that project, that cabin, that Jeff calls it a modular home. I don't know what a modular home is, but apparently it's a home that's built in stages. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was going to be theirs, not yours, theirs. Yes?
It was going to be in our name because we were the ones getting the loan for it.
Never do
So-
this for anybody, by the
But it was
way.
going to be
Never ever do
theirs
this
in
for a
terms
family
of
member. Ever, ever,
where
ever,
they
ever,
would
ever,
occupy
ever,
private
ever.
space.
They were going to live there.
That's what I just said. Occupy private space, live there, right?
Can you repeat that last part?
It was going to be their place, their private place, their home. It was going to be for them.
They were going to live there, yes.
And in the meantime, while this is being developed, Jeff and Karen didn't live in that cabin with you. They lived on a lake in a basement apartment they had found on their own. You had nothing to do with that.
That's correct.
And the falling out that has apparently caused so much, I don't know what to call it, that you feel so upset about, started over that modular home.
That was when we started to see his business side.
Well, your dad's business side, he gets things done,
I
doesn't
would call it con artistry, sir.
he? You would call it what?
Con artistry?
Bang. Go.
Your daddy would get things done, such as a well dug.
Yeah, whether it was the correct way or not.
Well, you don't know if it wasn't the correct way. Your dad got the well.
Sir, I grew up with that man. I know if it was the correct way or not.
You didn't have anything.
Oh, I
to do with
love her.
getting the well done. He did that.
What he did, sir, was we had no contract in place. While Gio and I were both working a full-time job, something he's not familiar with, he had a well driller put the rig into our land with no contract, no insurance in place. I come home, and yes, sir, I was upset when I got home that day because I had a well being dug on my property, and I don't know if this guy was gonna charge $2,000. I don't know if this guy was gonna charge $200,000. There was no contract in place. There was just a man digging a hole in the property.
An experienced well digger who dug wells all over that neighborhood.
He didn't even have a location, sir. You couldn't even look him up. You couldn't find his license. You couldn't get him on the phone.
So it's the fact that the well got dug is beside the point to you.
That is something that still bothers me because the family that ended up moving into that home had to have a whole nother well dug.
Okay.
So another young family became a victim
Good for her.
because it wasn't done right.
Have you been keeping a diary on all this over the years? 'Cause
Do you remember things about your family, sir?
Good for her.
Sorry, ma'am. I ask you.
This has changed my life, sir.
And you.
The victims that have come out of the woodwork, even living in Virginia, 2 ladies were glaring at me in Walmart, and I found out it was the 2 ladies that he was working for as a contractor on their home, and he had messed up their entire house. He had to be let go from that job, and they had to hire a whole nother contractor. So now I'm getting hate stares in Walmart in my hometown, and I don't even know why. So this is personal to me, sir, because it has affected my life,
Well, it's
and it has
obviously
affected
very-
my husband's life and our children's
It's obviously
lives.
very personal to you, Ms. Aguayo, obviously. And I am absolutely overwhelmed by the detail that you can draw from years ago, as if you have been keeping a running check.
Oh, the jury's
You're
not
not
going to like
experienced with
that.
people that have relatively good memories, sir?
When you and Gio
Oh, she is feisty. Oh, my
were
goodness.
first moved to Virginia, your mama came
So
after your daddy
feisty.
came, and y'all were all in agreement. You didn't say no, did you?
This might be the best thing I've ever
We
seen.
didn't know they were doing anything wrong. Again, they had gone through bankruptcy.
Objection,
We
Your Honor.
thought we were trying to help.
Objection.
Who doesn't want to help their parents who are going through?
I believe this ground has been plowed thoroughly, asked and answered about why they moved in with them. About 15 questions about it.
I just want a yes or a no.
It's-
Ask your question anyway.
Ask you a question anyway.
Your father moved in with you in Orange, Virginia, followed by your mother a couple of months later. And you could say no, couldn't you?
I'm sorry, sir, but I think you want a yes or no answer, but that's not phrased in the way to give you a yes or no.
Well, you didn't say no, Ms. Aguayo.
They had permission to live with us. I mean, they weren't breaking into our home
Thank you,
every night.
Thank you. They had permission. That's all I want you to say is, you could say no and you didn't say
Objection,
no.
Your Honor. That is argumentative.
She answered the question, move on.
And the animosity that you have exhibited since you got into this room this morning all stems from the building of that modular home and disagreements over that.
No, sir. My uncomfortableness with having to be in this courtroom is because that man over there is not even handcuffed. And you don't know what it's like to move almost every year of your life and still get text messages from Karen, your mother, saying, "Hey, how's Texas?" Or "How's that new baby granddaughter?" I would not communicate back with her. It's not like I was communicating back. She was letting me know, we know where you are. We
No,
know
she
your
wasn't.
kids.
How do you know your mother wasn't just expressing genuine affection for you?
Because if she had genuine affection for me, sir, she would have stopped this years ago. She would have stopped this years ago. She would have said, enough is enough. If I can't change that man, I'm going to leave that man. But she's part of it. So how are you going to leave someone when you're their partner? You're their Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay. Bonnie and Clyde, your mama's Bonnie?
They would joke about it.
Oh, come on.
She would bring him contraband when he was out on work release. Like that's not Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah, Judge, let me approach.
Yes. Guys, like, I didn't think that I could have parental love for another person's child the way that I'm feeling right now. Oh my goodness, she is so tough. She is so, I love, Kimberly and I joke that we have two recipes that we can make in children. We can make sweet boys and we can make feisty girls. That's all we know how to make. And she's so feisty. She's just so great. She is exactly the brand of tough that I hope all of our daughters turn out to be. She is amazing. Oh, I just love it. I just love it. Happy Hiker says he just needs to quit asking her questions.
Regard the last statement made by the witness.
Instructed the jury to disregard, I think. The audio wasn't there. Oh my goodness, so amazing. Just so amazing.
You and Gio, even though the house that was being built, the modular cabin that was being built was for your parents, you and Gio wanted to control everything. Isn't that so?
If you had a $178,000 loan in your name, would you want some control?
I ask you a question that's yes or no. You and Gio wanted to control everything, yes or no?
No.
Well, that's what the falling out was about, right?
No.
That's what the meeting at McDonald's was all about, right? And your father looked at you and said, your husband can be difficult himself, can he?
I would not agree with that, sir.
Pardon me?
I would not agree with that, sir.
All right. Well, on the day that you were going to meet at McDonald's, where you did meet at McDonald's, and this all came to a head, Gio was demanding that it take place on his couch in his basement apartment, not McDonald's.
We wanted Karen to be a part of the conversation.
And Gio went to your mother and father's apartment and broke into the apartment and sat on the couch himself and demanded that Karen call Jeff and come and sit on that couch because Gio said so.
That's a lie.
That's a question. And you
That was a
answer it
statement.
yes or no?
He did not? That's a no?
I think that was a lie is a no. I think that qualifies as a no.
And your mother was home in bed. You do acknowledge that your mother has serious health issues, right?
I acknowledge she has self-diagnosed health issues when it's convenient for her. She rallies real quick
Are
when
you-
she's needed by Dad.
You're accusing your mother of being a hypochondriac?
Growing up with that woman, I know that I would disagree with her calling herself ill. We'll put it that way. I know you want me to keep it short. That woman's not ill.
You don't think that your mother's migraine headaches are real?
People have headaches, sir.
Migraine headaches.
Yes, migraine headaches. People have migraine headaches.
I didn't ask you if people had migraine headaches. Ms. Aguayo, I asked you if you disagree that your mother is a migraine sufferer.
She would have migraine headaches, yes.
And have you ever had a migraine?
She was not in bed that day. When Gio knocked on the door, she was sitting on the couch.
Really? Were you seeing from afar? How do you know?
I communicate with my husband, sir. I think most people do.
How do you
Now,
know?
I was, as mentioned, I was very pregnant with my son, so I didn't, because they wouldn't even, I didn't walk back into where they lived. My husband did. I'm calling my mom on the phone saying, Mom, you need to know what's going on. This affects your life too.
Let's get that down pat. You didn't walk in, your husband did. Your husband went from the gate on the gated community through the woods, around the fencing.
Oh no, so this is a gated community. There's no woods he's walking through. This is a paved road. He's walking down a road. He's knocking on a door where a family lives above them, by the way. We're not breaking into a home. We're knocking on a door, seeing a lady sitting on a couch that's supposed to be in bed with a migraine.
But
And she's not picking up her phone when her daughter's calling her.
you weren't with him.
That's correct, sir. As I mentioned, I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant at that time. I'm not schlepping back 2 miles into a gated community because my mom can't be bothered to open the gate.
So
Because she doesn't want to see the next mess that he's made.
So your husband walked 2 miles into a gated community where he was not invited, he was not permitted, he didn't live there, he bypassed the gate, and he walked 2 miles because he said so. That's where the meeting was supposed to take place because Gio said so.
If you can't get in touch with someone on the phone, particularly your mother-in-law, do you think that maybe you might want to go check on her and see why she's not picking up her phone?
No, not if you,
Wow.
your mother is quite capable of making a phone call if she needs help.
I thought you just said she was very ill, sir.
Your mother is very ill.
But she doesn't need checked on?
All right, Judge.
Let's move on. Let's move on anyway.
When's the last time you actually had a civil conversation with Mom or Dad?
December of 2018, I tried to have a conversation with my mom. My son was about a month at that point. They had missed all the initial baby things, and of course, with Jeff, we had a no contact order. But with my mom, I said, "Can you fix this? Can you do something so that we can be a family?"
Well,
And that didn't go well. Being a grandmother was not as important to her as continuing with Jeff, and I'll be careful how I phrase it.
So you didn't want to have anything to do with your mother because she loved her husband and saw him.
Absolutely not, sir.
Let me finish. And saw her husband as her life partner, and you wanted to rule. You and Gio always want to rule the roost, don't you?
No, sir, that's very incorrect. Who would invite someone into their home if they wanted to rule the roost? Like that's not, those aren't the kind of hearts that like, I gotta be in control of everything and I gotta be in charge. Like, you don't let people into your little circle of control if you wanna rule a roost. None of what you're saying makes sense.
Well, it was your home. Y'all had a fight over a modular home that you.
Objection.
Hang on a second, you gotta
Yes, sir. It's asked and answered. We've plowed this ground many, many
As I
times.
said earlier, let's move on.
Trying to discredit her has backfired colossally. And you know what? Mr. Hill he's only got so much
I can ask you
that
this
he can-
question safely.
that he can do to
You
defend
don't
Jeff.
have respect for your mother, do you?
That's incorrect, sir.
You don't.
I love my parents. I love my sister. I love my family that have, like my family in Pennsylvania that I don't talk to anymore. I love them all. The love doesn't change. But getting my children and my husband out of danger's way, out of harm's way, that is more important to me than being able to pick up the phone and say, "Oh, Mama, you'll never guess what the baby did today."
So you-
It's either that or I continue to put my husband and leave him with a target on his back after he's been threatened. I won't do that, sir. I love my husband. And that's it. So I will give up a phone call with my mama.
A target
So-
on your husband's back? Who put the target on your husband's back?
Jeff,
In what way?
he has offered to put $1 million life insurance policy on him. We had a recording device in our garage where he says, after we've called the sheriff, he says, "Oh, look up along that walkway, you'll see a dead man walking. I'm coming for you, son. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into."
Jeez. All right.
It's all recorded.
Well, I've never heard it, okay?
It wasn't allowed.
You don't have any respect and love for your father either, do you?
Love? Yes. After understanding what he has done over the years and seeing what he's done, respect? No.
Let me ask you this. You have children, I've heard you refer to, yes? You have children, yes?
Yes.
Small children.
Your Honor,
I'm not comfortable
objection.
talking about my kids in front.
Guys, like I already said it 30 times, but this is a remarkable young lady. This is a remarkable woman. Tough, gritty, strong, beautiful. She's amazing. She is amazing. And yeah, I think that Mr. Hill's line of questioning is colossally backfiring. Colossally.
Everybody put on here, we're gonna take a break just a little bit, okay?
With respect to $100,000 or $1 million life insurance on your husband, do you, Ms. Aguayo, not think it's reasonable and responsible for a parent like David Hill to insure myself for my children's benefit in the event that something happens to me? Yes or no? I don't want to lecture. I want you to tell these folks whether or not you think it's reasonable.
Objection.
Just answer yes or no, you'll have.
Yes.
You can explain your answer if you like.
You think it's
Yes, I upped my life insurance policy to attend here today, sir, because I want my kids taken care of.
Well, that's a responsible parent, isn't it?
Yes, and as I mentioned, both of us had life insurance at that time. We were not going to be leaving our baby son with nothing should something happen to us. We both already had life insurance. The curious part is why they felt at that need when we started arguing to up his life insurance policy.
Well, you know, Ms. Aguayo, would it surprise you to know that I'm a grandparent and I have given the same advice to all three of my children?
Have you offered to pay for it, sir, in the middle of an
Objection,
argument?
Your Honor. Objection. I don't think that was a question.
She had a response.
Can you rephrase it in the form of a
I
question?
think you can respond.
I ask it in a question form, Judge.
You can respond. You can say yes or no and then explain your answer.
I think the issue, Ms. Aguayo, concerning life insurance is not who pays for it, who the beneficiary is. Would you agree?
If you feel like you're going to be able to convince your daughter that this was all an accident and then you do benefit because you move back into the cabin with your new grandbaby, then I'd say you are benefiting if that's your end term goal, sir. Get him out of the picture. This now becomes my house.
Any other questions?
Little sidebar. Mr. Hill needs to stop. He just needs to stop. I love the texts that I'm getting. I think Carolyn Aguayo.
One final question.
Oh, please. Thank you.
When you bought the house, your house, on Oak Island, where you invited your parents to come stay, when you bought it, Jeff Spence gave you a $10,000 down payment, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Jeff and Karen gave you a $10,000 down payment.
No, they didn't.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right, how long do you think we're ready to go?
Very, very short.
All right, let's go and have a team.
Let's have that
You're
redirect
talking
then.
about family in Pennsylvania. Who is Doug Spence?
My dad's younger brother.
Okay. Now, do you have as far as the relationship with Jeff and you and Gio, we get the picture. And I believe, but are you aware of how Jeff would communicate with Doug?
He has helped him with counsel over the years. A lot of times they use code to talk about things in our family. So like,
What do you mean by that code?
well, when you don't want, if you're outside and you don't want someone to overhear you, you just say, oh, well, sure do remember that time we were, fishing with Dad in his favorite fishing hole, and remember that tree he used to sit at all the time. Conversation that appears to be about a memory is not about a memory.
It's about something else.
It's letting the brother know.
Your Honor, this is not proper redirect.
I'm through, Your Honor.
All right, I'll agree. All right.
This is not proper, Yana.
Can this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're finally excused. You can welcome to stay. You're free to go, whichever one you like to do.
Run far away,
Let's
Carolyn.
take about 10 or 15
Run
minutes break.
far, far, far
We'll,
away.
y'all get ready.
Good on you. Oh my goodness. My goodness. You know what we should be doing here? Let's go. Yeah, we'll just bring this up. What a morning. What a morning. Oh. You know what? I think I've got my next blog post planned. I am going to write an open letter to Carolyn Aguayo. I'm going to write an open letter. I'm going to publish it on my website. And I'm not going to ask her for anything. I am just going to express pride. It's like she doesn't need an attaboy from some schlubby guy out in Western Pennsylvania, but she's going to get it. She is just the best. The best. That was incredible. Incredible. That was incredible. I don't know what else to say. That was so good. It was so good. And it makes me wish for Kirby's sake and for Caitlin's sake, that Caitlin had that same fortitude, that same grit. Because I think if she did, I don't think this would have happened with Kirby. And the amount that Carolyn and her husband bent over backwards for the purpose of making it possible for her parents to have a place to stay, like that, they bent over backwards for them. And listen, this is just my opinion, okay? And this is coming from a guy who, I've told you before, I won the family lottery the day I was born. And let me tell you what I mean by that. My parents put each other first. Like, my dad deeply cares about, is invested in, and loves my mom. And my mom feels the exact same way about my dad. And all of us kids that were born into our family got to have that example and got to grow and stretch and reach within the bubble of that love, right? So I'm not saying this from a place of like I can empathize with her, because I can't. Jeff Spence, if everything about him is true, which I believe it is, that is the worst dad to have. That is the worst dad to have. But I keep sidetracking. To me, having grown up in the family that I did, Kimberly and our children are 100 times, 1,000 times, 100,000 times more important to me than my parents, than my own parents. And the fact that that she bent over backwards to help her parents, knowing who they were, really, really says something about who she is. And I'm really proud that she got to the place. And of course, she doesn't need my pride. She doesn't need my approval. But I'm really proud that she got to the place where she said, you know what? We're having none of it. To protect my husband, to protect our children, we're having none of it. And she even expressed how she loves her extended family, but still gave it all up to protect her husband and their children. And boy, is that an example. Oh my goodness, I just want to adopt her. I'm going to talk to Kimberly about it. Maybe we can file the paperwork. You don't have to be part of that anymore. You can be ours. That's how I'm feeling right now. So awesome. Oh my goodness sake. All right, let me go back to the ones where you put in GF, and let's just take a look at some of your comments here real quick. Mr. Hill is not winning with the jurors. No, he is not. And I think Mr. Hill is a fine attorney. He has a good reputation. I think that he is kind of at the end of his career right now, which only means that he has terrific experience. I don't think that he is slow. I don't think that he is dumb. I just don't think that he has a lot to work with here. He's not doing well with the jurors. Jen says, that's awesome, Gavin. Please let her know that we adore her. I will include, I'm going to write that tonight, that when I get back from my training. Oh, by the way, guys, no live stream at my normal time tonight because I've got the Pennsylvania Prison Society training continuing today. But when I get back from my training, that is what I'm writing. I will include how much you guys love her too. Tanya says, I would say her parents raised her right, but I think she raised herself right. She did not get her morals from them at all. Yeah, and you know how hard it is to break free of the way that you were raised. It's so hard to break free. And I mean, in so many different in so many different dimensions, right? It's just very difficult to break free from the way that you were raised. And look at her. Just look at her. That, I mean, what did we have, an hour with her in our lives? And look what look how she how she affected us. It's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Jen also said, oh, let's see. Jen says, my parents were the same, together since seventh, and married 29 years when my mom passed, and that was the bar that was set for me. He supported her every time she was sick. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I'm watching that right now with my parents. They're not, they're in their late 70s now, but my dad is sick, and I'm watching my mom. Yeah. So, guys, this is what I'm going to do. I got to finish up my workday. Fortunately, this is part of my workday. I've got to write a report on this trial, so I've got to watch it. But I got to get back to what I'm working on. I know that I'm going to be working this weekend to kind of catch up on things. But what I'm going to do is just kind of leave us here, because again, I've got to finish my workday. Then I got to skedaddle to a prison here in Western Pennsylvania for some training. By the way, yesterday was a real eye opener. I think I have shared with a lot of you guys that I'm kind of going through a post midlife crisis right now, just a little bit. It's 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 actually been kind of a fun experience when I look back on it. It hasn't been totally enjoyable all the way around, but I've been going through this wave of like deep desire to reach back into the past and relive that. And anyway, yesterday, as I sat across from a couple of people who were incarcerated, which I will not give away anything, that's all confidential, I just realized, boy, do you have a terrific life. Boy, do you have a terrific life. And I do. It's pretty awesome. So that's what I took out of yesterday. And man, I was just like covered in so much stuff that I was trying to learn that I barely got any of it. But today we continue with our second round, and I'm sure that there will be more and more rounds. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm gonna stop blabbing. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my workday so that I can get on the road to get to the prison that we're visiting today, and then I'm going to keep the live stream going. It's going to look like this. It's going to look like this, so that we can remember that it's Kirby that is the most important thing here. He is a victim of a heinous crime, and we always want to remember the victims when we are watching this kind of stuff. So it's going to look like this. And I think I'm also, just for the new folks, we'll put the standard lower thirds up there. Thank you guys so much for joining for this. And then when I get back tonight, I will catch up like I did last night watching Caitlin's testimony. Oh my goodness, are those sisters night and day? Are those sisters night and day? You can tell they're related, but wow. Anyway, thank you very, very much. And I'm sure that I'll be back in time to catch the end of the stream today. All right. And I will see you then. Take care.
Call us the next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state rests.
All right. State is rested. What time is it? About 11 o'clock. You're gonna need some time to get some witnesses here. Come on. Go back to the jury room for just a little bit, okay? And we're gonna bring it back out, make some decisions, how we're gonna proceed with the trial anyway. But I got some stuff I gotta take care of out here for a minute, okay? All right, I believe the defense will have a motion at this time.
I do, Judge. The state having announced that the state rests, comes now the defendant Jeffrey Dean Spence and respectfully moves the court to enter an order of directed verdict of not guilty. And in support of that motion, I will say the following. We're here on a murder case that happened in Tippah County, Mississippi, on or about November 30th, 2022. And the question remains, after the government has had all week to put on evidence, the question still remains, who killed Kirby Carpenter? Who killed Kirby Carpenter? Could have been just about anybody in Tippah County, and we do not know, and they have not proven to the most minimal legal standard that Jeff Spence had anything to do with it. Jeff Spence has not had anybody place him in Tippah County, Mississippi on November 30th. Nobody has placed a murder weapon in his hands. They have no proof in terms of fingerprints. They have no proof in terms of any standard forensic evidence. The question remains, as I stand here, who killed Kirby Carpenter? I don't think the state knows. I don't think the state will ever know. And I think when I told the jury on Monday that they selected somebody to be an accused, that's exactly what we have. We have a selected accused person. And they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Jeff Spence not only is guilty, they haven't even proven that he has anything at all to do with this case. He was in Tippah County in Kirby Carpenter's home for weeks. He and his wife helping with the newborn baby. They undisputed left Cook County Tuesday afternoon, November 29th. Arrived home in the southwest Virginia area around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on November 30th. We have a electronic message rendered from a conversation actually between Caitlin Spence and Karen Spence, Jeff's wife, and Caitlin's mother, at about 8 p.m. on November the 30th. The subject of that conversation is what Dad had been doing today. He's worked in the yard, he's worked inside, he's grilling hamburgers. Apparently he's good at hamburger grilling, and the next sentence from Caitlin is, well, I know how much you've missed his hamburgers because they've been in Mississippi so long. The conversation is obviously about Jeff Spence, and he just got up from a nap and worked hard all day. He's fixing hamburgers for supper, for dinner, because that's in response to Caitlin's question, what are y'all having for dinner? That place he's not cooking dinner at Kirby Carpenter's house, he's cooking dinner in his own house in Virginia. There's just nothing to tie him at the operative time here. He didn't cook dinner in Virginia around 8 o'clock and kill Kirby Carpenter at 7 o'clock. It's just not possible. It's too far. It's 800 miles, 10 hours. That's the proof. Other proof is like the trash we just got through hearing from an estranged daughter full of animosity and hate. Doesn't mean that she doesn't place it. What she's talking about is 10 years ago, not now, not 2022. And other than her, they don't have any witnesses that ties to the property, ties to the deed, ties to anything. Ties to this case. It's a case that merits not going to the jury, and I'm asking the court to give us a directed verdict.
All right. I'll hear from the state.
We, state submits that we approve the case. Court obviously has to take this in the light most favorable to the state. And we've had testimony that contradicts everything that Mr. Hill has said, primarily through Caitlin, who had a conversation with her father, where he admitted to her that he killed Kirby Carpenter. Not only that, but we have Kirby's property in his possession, custody, and control. And, taking all the proof in light favorable to the state, with all the testimony that has occurred, the investigation, the witnesses that have taken the stand, this man stands before the court as the state has proven each and every element of the property.
All right. Every time I have a criminal trial, I make me a checklist of what elements there must be proof of, and I've done so in this case. I think the state has made a prima facie case as to meets all those elements. They've ID'd the defendant, they've established venue, they've established that Kirby Carpenter was living, and they established that Kirby Carpenter died, and when that took place, it was a result of a shooting, and there's evidence of a robbery had been set forth, and I'm going to deny your motion for a directed verdict. There's been some evidence on every element of the crime charge, and it'll be up to the jury to decide if that some evidence is enough evidence, and we will that'll be at the jury to make this determination. Do you need a minute to, y'all talk and decide how you want me to proceed as far as the defense of the case, okay?
We'll do so right now.
Do what?
We'll do so right now.
Y'all do that now anyway, okay? You can use my chambers if you like to,
Well, I think we have,
wherever you want to, y'all just,
Judge?
yeah. Mr. Spence, these comments are directed to you, not necessarily to your attorney. At this time, the state has announced that they have rested. In other words, now it's time for the defense to put on any witnesses if they want, and those witnesses can include you. I want you to know that you have the absolute right to be sworn in, sit in the witness chair and testify if you like to. The decision about whether you wish to testify or not testify is your decision, and your decision is alone. I would encourage you to consult with your attorney in making that decision, but if you want to testify, myself, the district attorney's office, even your own attorney cannot stop you from testifying. You have the absolute right to testify, and you can if you wish to. On the other hand, if you do not wish to testify, no one can make you testify. I can't. District attorney's office, your own attorney cannot force you to testify. If you do choose not to testify, the jury will be instructed that the fact that you did not testify cannot be used as any evidence whatsoever that you were guilty of any crime, because we all have the right to remain silent. But whether you choose to testify or chose not to testify does not change the fact that the state bears the burden of proving that you are guilty, and you never have to prove that you're not guilty. You understand that?
Yes.
Have you consulted with your attorney and reached a decision on whether you wish to testify in your own defense or not?
I did consult with my attorney.
Have you made that decision?
I have.
And what is that decision?
I do not want to testify.
All right. Mr. Hill, do you agree with, y'all have had a discussion on that and reached that decision?
We have discussed it more than once over the past several months, more than once today, and we are on the same page, yes.
All right. All right. At this time, I'm going to bring the jury in. Do you wish to call, does the defense wish to call any witnesses?
No, sir.
All right, I'm going to let you bring the jury back in. I'm going to let you rest in front of the jury. And I think we've all agreed that we've got a lot of stuff to do on jury instructions and preparing closing arguments, and I have caught us I think all a little about surprised how fast we've wrapped up here today anyway. I'm going to excuse the jury until 9 o'clock Monday morning. We'll come back then, have jury instructions ready, be prepared for closing statements, and begin deliberation, okay? We'll talk about how long, let's talk about jury instructions after, let's talk about them shortly, then go to lunch, and then come up and finish jury instructions after lunch, okay? All right, show the jury in. Having rested, it's now the defense opportunity to present witnesses if they choose to do so. Who would the defense call as its first witness?
Your Honor, at this time, I'm announcing for the defense that we rest.
All right. That means you've heard all the testimony you're going to hear in this case. Quite frankly, we're not ready for your closing arguments and jury instructions. We're going to have to, we'll spend a good bit of time getting jury instructions together and letting these people form their closing arguments. If we got that done, it'd probably be 5 or 6 o'clock this evening before you got to start deliberating. I'm not gonna make you work at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, start your deliberation. What I'm gonna do, you got,
Your Honor, just for the record, state I don't rest.
okay. I'm gonna let you go home. Be back in the jury room at 9 o'clock in the morning. Not in the morning, excuse me. He's Monday morning. I voted for tomorrow. I voted for tomorrow morning, but I got about voted by everybody at the courthouse anyway. Somebody want to go to ball games and such as that anyway. But be back at 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
May we approach?
Always something. I'm gonna ask you to be back in the jury room at 9 o'clock Monday morning. I want you to pay special attention today. You've got a long break between now and Monday morning. Stay away from the news. Anything you see pop up on Channel 9 or Facebook or any website or meeting somebody on the street that said, I heard you had jury duty, what do you think about it? You've got to avoid it. Don't form any opinions, don't express any opinions, don't talk about the case, don't even let anybody talk about the case with you. That includes your husbands and your wives, your kids, anyone else. Don't attempt to investigate the case. Don't go home and Google anything. Don't look up any law. Just leave your mind just like it is now. Know what you know when you come back Monday. Know what you know right now, and not anything else. Don't think anything. Just keep your mind. Keep away from anything. And I know I can count on y'all to do that. There's 3 of you. There's alternates. I'm going to ask y'all to come back too, because if one of the original 12 were to get sick over the weekend, I need you there as backup still anyway. Y'all, I'm gonna let you go out. Nobody at the jury I don't have any reason to think, suspect in any way that anybody would try to contact you about your jury service. If they do, you let the court know about it, okay? Thank y'all. See y'all Monday morning. All right. Because it's not quite. Let's spend a few minutes talking about jury instructions before we break for lunch. Anyway, the members of the audience, this isn't get real boring real fast. You're welcome to go if you like to at this time, but has both sides received the court's instructions? They are they're the court standards instructions been used in this district for 40 years at least. I don't know if in the court's instructions we included, I think it's C7, I think, that deals with the defendant's failure to testify. If they don't, I'll include that anyway.
I don't think it was in there. I think there was only 6.
Okay.
I have a position on that jury instruction,
Okay.
and I would like for it to be elected.
Okay. Okay, you don't get it. You don't, that's always that option. If you, if you don't want it, you don't get it. And it's, some different attorneys have different theories on that. And I think both of them are legitimate arguments anyway.
There's a provision in one of the state's instructions that basically covers that.
Okay. If you don't, whatever, C6 or C7 dealing with the defendant's failure to testify not being used against you, if you don't want that, we just won't offer it, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so, I don't have, let me see if I got my instructions. Have been filed, I think they've been filed, I'm gonna just cut right to the chase anyway. Has anyone offered a lesser included or intend to offer any lesser included?
We did,
You did not?
but I wouldn't be completely fair to my client, I guess, if I didn't call.
Y'all talk, why don't y'all spend these next few minutes? I think that's gonna be the main issue. Most of our jury instructions, I think, will be fairly straightforward. And I think whether or not any lesser included are gonna be offered is, be the only sticking point we might have. And why don't y'all just take, let's do this. Now, let's go ahead and y'all go ahead and talk about it now if you want to, okay? And can I get a copy of the state's instructions? Brooke probably has those. Are they here, Ms. Sanders? State's instruction and defense proposed instructions. What's that? I've got volume. I got something, I don't have the latest, maybe, I got the first volume, not the second volume anyway. If you go get off my desk, I'd appreciate it, okay? Yeah, you go wherever y'all feel comfortable, okay? Yes, sir.
Just for the record, the defendant, Jeffrey Dean Spence, does not request a lesser.
Okay, all right. All right, let's, Mr. Tracy, do y'all have the court, all the instructions there? Yes, sir. All right. All right, the court has proposed court's instructions 1 through 7, with number 6 being withdrawn, dealing with the defendant's right to not testify. Does anyone have any objections to court's instructions 1 through 7?
Not from the state.
All right, I'm going to give court's instructions 1 through 7. They're the ones we're always give, with the exception we added 7 dealing with note taking that tells them to rely on their own notes and not anybody else's anyway. Let's look at the state's instructions next, that being the first one being S1, which will be elements and form of the verdict instruction. I generally like to give those two together. Is S1 offered?
I'm sorry?
Is S1 offered?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any objections to S1? Sets for the elements and form of the verdict. All right, S1 will be given. S2 is appears to be elements of the crime of robbery. Is S2 offered?
Yes, sir.
Any objection to S2? No objection to S2. S2 will be given. All right, S3, I haven't read yet. Is S3 offered?
Yes, sir.
Let me. Any objection to S3?
We object to the instruction as it's drafted. It's not correct.
Tell me what the problem is anyway, and y'all, and the state be getting me up some law to say why you think it is correct statement of the law. First off, let's make a decision about whether it is a correct statement of law or not, and I'll give both sides an opportunity to express what they feel of whether or not it's a correct statement of law.
My position is that the robbery has to be first, and if the murder occurs during the commission of the robbery, the capital murder,
That
robbery can be the predicate
if
offense,
you,
but it's got to occur
what
first.
the question basically being, if I get mad and shoot somebody and then steal their wallet, is that capital murder or not? You know, or do I go there with the intent to rob them, and then if person A and person B gets into a heated dispute and person A shoots and kills person B and he says, well, I might as well get his wallet while I'm here, is that capital murder?
I think the intent has to be there to commit the predicate offense. The intent has to be there to commit the predicate offense. And the classic example that I've defended dozens of times is John Doe goes into a convenience store or a liquor store with the intent to rob. And things go sideways and the intent to rob then ends ends up with gunplay and there's a murder as a result, that's capital murder, okay? Because
And,
the intent to rob-
as opposed to, I go in to buy a pack of cigarettes and get into it with the store clerk and shoot him and then decide to steal something while I'm there. I want both sides to present their arguments as to what the law is on that case anyway. I don't want to make that decision on the fly anyway. That issue has been addressed by the Mississippi Supreme Court on several occasions. I believe I know what the answer to that question is, but I want somebody to
Are we
support
holding
that
this
decision.
instruction in abeyance until Monday morning?
What's that now?
Are we holding this instruction in abeyance?
I'll give you a chance to either look at it now, but I'll give you the opportunity to address it on Monday if you,
There is law.
there's law on it. I think it won't take me just a minute to find out, but I'll give you an opportunity. If the state wishes to address it now, I can, but I'll give you an opportunity to,
Yes.
I'd rather you not wait till Monday. If you got a case that says otherwise, get it to me sometime before Monday, okay? Send it to me in book before Monday, okay?
We'll do the same.
Okay. I don't want to make that decision Monday morning. I'd rather beat both sides, address the issue, and I think it is,
It's been answered.
you what?
It's been answered.
It's been answered on many occasions, and I'm almost certain I know the answer, but I want y'all both to have an opportunity to correct me. So I'm gonna hold S3 in abeyance, until y'all give me a chance to rule on it. All right, so that's all the state's instructions this time.
I do believe that we'll have that.
Yeah, it was in the intent, that's right.
What's that now?
If I have service, I think I can answer that question in about 5 minutes.
All right. Well, I'll give you an opportunity to. Does it, when I live here today, I don't want the jury be waiting Monday morning for us to still be arguing over jury instructions. If you got any, does the state anticipate any further jury instructions?
No, it's not.
All right. Let's
Today, I'll let you know.
all right. Let's move on to the defense instruction D1. Is D1 offered? D1, is it offered?
I don't know that I have defense instructions.
I can go and get you a copy right quick if y'all need another copy. All right, we got a copy. D1 has been offered. I'll give you the opportunity to look at it and see if you've got an objection.
Your Honor, it's in the elements instruction that we have to approve on November 30th, 2022, Jeffrey B. Spence did this and that, so it's already in the elements.
I think there is there again, I think there's case law on whether an alibi instruction gets its own instruction or not anyway.
We need an opportunity to look at that.
I want 1 or 2.
That's what I say. You probably gonna get one, you're probably gonna get either or, but not both anyway.
I don't want both, I want 1 of.
Okay, y'all compare 1 or 2 in conjunction with each other, state. I'll give you opportunity to, but I would like to, I don't want us to be arguing about it Monday morning, as long as y'all can work as much this afternoon as, or tomorrow as you want to, but I want to reach the decision before Monday.
Well, and we can send you support.
Y'all got, send me some support anyway. But I'll be considered either D1 or D2, but not both anyway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay?
And I will, is it okay if I send you information Sunday afternoon? Is that
That'll be
soon-
fine.
is that
That'll be
soon
fine.
enough? Is that
I'll
soon
be,
enough for the court?
if y'all will send me any information y'all want on these jury questions on Sunday, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do Sunday. So
Okay.
y'all can prepare, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's move on to D3. I'll be expecting, y'all's commentary on S3, D1, and D2 before Monday, all right? Let's move on to D3 anyway. It's often offered anyway. D3 I assume is offered. What's the state's comments on D3? It is, I assume.
It's confusing, talking about reasonable doubt, more probable, the way the evidence, and that's covered in the course instructions. We, yeah, way the evidence type of instruction. I don't think it's a problem.
Any word in support, Mr. Hill?
Judge, I cited,
There are cases that have approved it. There are cases that says this is your classic the two hypothesis case, and there are decisions, I believe, that says it's okay if the judge gives it, it's okay if the judge don't give it. I traditionally don't give it because I think it's just adding more language to the jury's decision to weigh all the evidence and decide it based on all the evidence, the totality of the evidence. And I think it's in the court's discretion to refuse or grant, and I'm going to refuse D3. While it's not error to grant it, it's also, court's opinion, it's not error to refuse it. And I just think it's just adds complication to the jury's duties anyway. All right, that brings us to D4. Any objection to D4?
It's covered in the board's instruction, it's covered in our elders instruction.
which court instruction is it in?
To me, the D4 is very akin to, has elements of the court's instruction 6, which I'm not giving, where it says not required to present evidence. When it says Jeffrey Spence is not required to present evidence or prove anything, that it's akin to the C6 anyway. So I'm not giving C6.
In C3, as long as every person charged with commission of crime will be innocent.
It does have the added element of not required to present evidence or prove anything, which normally would be covered by C6, which we've withdrawn. I'm going to give D4 in lieu of C6, basically. D5.
Repetitive, cumulative,
I'm gonna put D5 up there with D1 and D2. I'm not, I'm not gonna give all three of those. Those are interrelated. The top half of D5 is, I think, covered by the court's instructions. But that dealing with the alibi, I want to see if, first off, see if alibi is to be treated separately other than this general burden of proof. And if so, if it is, I'll let you have one alibi instruction.
One alibi, at least one alibi instruction.
I'm going to let y'all analyze D1, D2, and D5 as a package deal and see if y'all can come up with one instruction dealing with that anyway.
So, I
See what, I'm not saying that I'm going to give an alibi instruction. I believe I will, but I think the law allows that. But I'll just give just my intention to give one alibi instruction. D6.
reject that.
It's well covered in the court's instructions.
Tends to find reasonable doubt.
This is often offered.
Sorry?
This is often offered anyway. Any opinion on D6, Mr. Hill? I know it's often offered.
Well, it's a correct statement of the legal principles covered there, but it may be covered in the court's instruction.
It is covered in the court's instruction. I'm gonna refuse D6. I've already covered it, and I take the opinion that don't just keep on harping on anything. Get the jury confused. All right, D7.
It's just like D3.
That's D3. That's you back to your two interpretation rule, and I traditionally do not give that. I think it's best that the jury just instruct them on what reasonable doubt is, and I traditionally don't give them. It's not required to be given, and I generally refuse them. It's just adding more layers of complication to the jury. All right, D8.
It's not the law.
And it's covered, should be covered in the court's instructions.
Let me read it right quick. I have, of course.
How the jury is to evaluate the evidence.
The Supreme Court the Supreme Court did a few years back reverse 100 years of common law and say that in Mississippi you're not entitled to a circumstantial evidence instruction anymore. This instruction had been given for the last 150 years in the state of Mississippi, but the Supreme Court has specifically said it should not be given anymore. And the
Should not
evidence
be, or it's up to your discretion.
What's that now?
Should not be given, or is it up to your
It
discretion?
said should not be given.
So you don't have it.
I don't think I have the discretion. It is no longer a correct statement of the law anyway. I'm not gonna give it anyway. As I see it, we've got issue on S3. When does basically boil down to this? When a killing takes place, can the robbery come after the killing or not? Do you have to have the intent to rob when the killing is committed?
Your Honor, that's answered in Batiste.
In what?
Batiste,
I'm familiar with Batiste, and as I said, I think I know what the answer is, but I want to give both sides an opportunity to
paragraph 33, and the law is that
go ahead and make a record on that while we're here on the record now.
T stands for the proposition that the intent of robbery can be done after the murder.
Let me, have you got that handy there? I'm familiar with it, I want to refresh my memory. That's,
I've got it.
that Batiste case is one of the preeminent cases in criminal law anyway. I'm gonna do this, Mr. Creekmore. Mr. Hill, I believe that this Baptiste case speaks as to what the law is. Unless you show me something to the contrary, I'm going to say that S3 is a correct statement of the law.
Are you giving me the Sunday afternoon?
I am, I'm gonna give you the opportunity, I'm not gonna require you to do it now, but,
Citing Gillette, 56 Southern Third at 492, Batiste at that site. 121 Southern Third 808 says where the evidence, the time sequence of the felony and the murder is not important as long as the evidence and its inferences demonstrate one continuous transaction.
We don't have one continuous transaction.
that the jury could find that there was, a reasonable jury could find that there was there's been evidence that Mr. Carpenter carried a satchel with him. The satchel, he was dead, and the satchel and the pistol was no longer there. I think a reasonable jury could infer it. On the other side, if the jury is convinced, believes that was not a continuous transaction, that's something you can argue anyway.
Well, yeah, that's certainly our position.
Okay, but,
One continuing transaction.
I'm gonna work under the assumption that I'm gonna give S3 unless you provide me, something that says I shouldn't, okay?
You'll hear from me Sunday afternoon.
That leaves us, with the, continuing transaction on the robbery issue that, Mr. Hill's gonna look at. And then, D1, D2, and D5. First question before y'all will be this: whether an alibi instruction should be given at all, and if so, whether it's separate and apart from just reasonable doubt, and if so, what instruction should be. And if y'all would, I'll give you Sunday to check on that anyway.
One of those three, 1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5. The first baseline question is, should an alibi instruction be given at all, or is that just part of reasonable doubt that the court instructs on?
And I'm not sure that we've been put on notice that there was going to be an alibi. There was some, maybe 2 witnesses, but I haven't heard
I don't,
Had the opportunity to examine them. So I'm not satisfied with that.
y'all be prepared to argue about the alibi prior to Monday morning. Okay? Send me any law you want to before Monday morning, and I'll make a decision and put on the record Monday morning, okay? What is required to, first off, is the statement, that, like the text message is saying, Daddy's cooking hamburgers, is that sufficient
I
to?
understand that, and that may go to the element that the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that on November 30th, 2022, that he was there in Tippah County to kill Kirk Carter.
Is that,
That may be proven to argue against that element, but I don't know if it necessarily constitutes an asserted alibi.
as I stated earlier, the baseline question is whether or not the defendant can receive an alibi instruction in this case, followed by, if he is, what should that instruction be? That's your homework assignment, anyway, okay?
I understand what you're saying.
All right, anything else we need, why don't we, while we're here, so we won't have to do it Monday morning, is, if you're planning on getting up a closing argument, how long does each side want for a closing argument?
We're in the same split.
What's that?
We won't use it all, we'll take an hour. He wants an hour.
Did you say an hour?
I said an hour.
All right, hour it is, each side, I'll let y'all divide it up, first half, second half can't be more than half, more than half. I'll let y'all give me some time, y'all can get your notes together and decide how long you want.
However much time you need, I'll take the rest.
All right, anything else before we break for today, for the week?
Not from me, Judge.
All right. Court's in recess. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I know emotions are high. We're coming to close this thing. Don't do anything to mess this court proceeding up. I'm not expecting you to, but everybody just hang in there till Monday, and let's get this thing over with, okay? I'm just asking you to do that, all right? All right, court be in recess until 9 o'clock Monday morning.